everybody. So let us begin with the very interesting session of biology. We have started with our first session with the lesson number 6, tissues. We have studied the types of tissues, and tissues are broadly categorized into two different categories depending upon the function they perform and depending upon by what cells they are made up of, right? So we have categorized them as plant tissues and animal tissues, and we have started with the first type, that is nothing but plant tissues. Plant tissues are further classified into two different types, meristematic tissues and permanent tissues. Meristematic tissues we have studied in our yesterday's session that they are dividing cells. They have dividing cells, the cells which divide and redivide for the formation of new cells. Such cells are present in meristematic tissues, and these meristematic tissues divide and redivide for the growth and development of the plant that we have studied yesterday. We have studied their locations also because these meristematic tissues are localized. They are present in different locations. That also we have studied yesterday. But at one point these meristematic tissues stop their division. They stop their division. They lose their divisibility. The way they divide, they just stop it and attain the maturation. So once these cells attain the maturation, that means they attain a particular size, a particular shape or a particular function. When they start performing, they attain the maturity, and once they attain the maturity, they are said as permanent tissues. The second type of plant tissues that are nothing but permanent tissues. So today we are going to study different types of permanent tissues. So there are three types of permanent tissues. First is called as parenchyma. Second is called as parenchyma, and third is called as sclerenchyma. So these are the three types of permanent tissues. First is parenchyma, second is collenchyma, and third is the sclerenchyma. The names are a little bit tough to remember, but as you go on proceeding in this lesson and go on pronouncing and studying, you will be able to do it. So permanent tissues are of three types. First is parenchyma, second is collenchyma, and third is sclerenchyma. So we are going to study them one by one. So first we will see the parenchyma, the first tissue, parenchyma. So now I will draw the diagram of parenchyma first, and then I am going to tell you its characteristics and functions. We are going to study all these tissues depending upon their characteristics and depending upon their functions. So first we will draw the diagram, and then we will see its characteristics and its functions. So this is how the parenchymatous cells look. They are very simple. There is no intercellular space between them. So if you will see, these cells are tightly packed and they don't have any intercellular space amongst them. Okay, they are just having a thin cell wall because these are plant cells. They are going to have the cell walls. So they have thin cell walls and there is no intercellular space. They are not at all much specialized tissues or very organized or very highly efficient tissues as such. They are just present in the linings of the different organs. That's it. They are protective in nature. That's it. They are support giving and protective in nature. So they are very simple tissues. As the permanent tissues are divided into two types: simple permanent tissues and complex permanent tissues. So that's why now I have explained why these are called as simple permanent, because their structure and their functions are very simple and they are performing very basic functions. So they are simple permanent tissues. So we are studying simple permanent tissues. And the first simple permanent tissue is nothing but parenchyma. If you see, its cells are very loosely packed. They are not so compactly packed. There is no much intercellular space between them and the structure is also very simple. If you see, now this is the cross section. If you hold the stem in this way and if you cut it in horizontal way, that is called as cross section. So if you cut it in this way and take a slice of thin stem and observe it under microscope, it will be seen like this. But if you take a longitudinal section, okay, suppose this is the stem and if you take its longitudinal section, it will come in a lengthwise section. It is called as lengthwise section. That is longitudinal section. A vertical section, if you will take, how it looks, that I will show you. So if you will take the longitudinal section, then it will look something like this. So this is the longitudinal section of the parenchyma, which are present in the linings of the stems, in the mesophyll of the leaf. That means the second layer after epidermis, whatever the tissues are there, in that layer these parenchymatous cells are present. The parenchymatous tissues are present. So they are very simple and not so complicated in structure. So this is the nucleus. Then this is the vacuole. And this is the intercellular space. So this is how the parenchymatous cells look in any part of the plant. They are present in the roots, they are present in the stems, they are present in the leaves, and they are very simple kinds of tissues. So we will see the characteristics of parenchymatous cells. The parenchymatous tissues are very simple in structure and function. They are having thin cell wall made up of cellulose, and there is very little intercellular space between the cells. The cells are not so tightly packed with each other. The number of cells in the tissues is also very less. So parenchyma cells are very simple cells. Okay. Then we will see the functions of parenchyma. They perform very important functions. Though they are simple, but they perform very important function in the plant. So the tissues, the parenchymatous tissues which are present in the stems and in the roots, they perform the basic structure, basic function of storage of food. Okay, they store the prepared starch into them. So they perform the basic function of storage of food. Also, they are packaging and supporting tissues. They fulfill the gaps. If suppose in between important tissues, whatever the gaps are there, that gaps are totally filled with these parenchymatous tissues. So they are packaging tissues. They store the food into them. But two more important functions which are performed by the parenchymatous tissues are, first, when they are present in the leaves of the plants, in the mesophyll part of the leaf, when they are present, they contain chlorophyll into them, and such chlorophyll containing parenchymatous cells are called as when the chlorophyll is present, they are called as parenchyma. Okay, when they contain chlorophyll, when they are present in the leaves, in some part of the leaves they are present, and as they are present in the leaves, they contain chlorophyll into them, and as they contain chlorophyll into them, they perform the function of photosynthesis. So such parenchymatous tissues which are present in the leaf and contain chlorophyll are called as parenchyma, and they perform the process of photosynthesis. So that is the important function of parenchymatous tissues present in the leaves. And second is when they have air gaps, especially in the aquatic plants. What happens? Air gaps are present in these aquatic plants so as to provide the buoyancy to the plants. Buoyancy, the floating tendency of the plant. Floating on water, that is called as buoyancy. So this buoyancy is there in the plants because of these air gaps, and these air gaps are present in parenchymatous tissues of the plant. Okay, and such parenchymatous tissues which have the air gaps into them are called as parenchyma. Okay, such parenchyma is called as parenchyma. The parenchyma containing chlorophyll is parenchyma, and the parenchyma containing air gap is parenchyma. So they help in providing buoyancy to the plants, the floating tendency to the plants, in especially in aquatic plants. So these are the parenchymatous tissues which are present in the linings of the plants. In the linings, that means the outermost covers after the cell wall, whatever the fill-ups are there, all the fill-ups are filled by these parenchyma tissues. I hope you understood the first simple permanent tissue which is formed after the maturation of meristematic tissues, that is nothing but parenchyma. Now we will study the second simple permanent tissue. The second simple permanent tissue is nothing but parenchyma. actually in the stalks of the leaves. Okay, if you will see the leaves, suppose this is the leaf, or in the stalks of flowers or stalks of fruits, this is the stalk where it actually get attached to the main stem. With the help of what it get attached to the main stem is called as the stalk of the plant, or stalk of the leaf, or stalk of the fruit. So this is how when it bears a flower or when it bears a fruit. Correct? So this is the stalk, and in this stalk these parenchyma tissues are present. So this parenchyma are again supportive tissues. They provide support to the leaves, fruits, flowers which are present on the plant. But if you will see their diagram or their structure under microscope, when you take the cross section, it has the thickened walls. Their cell walls are thickened at certain places. In the corners especially, their cell walls are thickened with the help of cellulose, and in other places it is regular. So if you will see, so this is the structure which looks under microscope in the cross section. So this is the cross section, and at the corners the cell walls are thickened. So their cytoplasm is irregularly densed. Okay, so this is how the cross section of parenchyma tissues looks like. Then if you will see their transverse longitudinal section, then the longitudinal section somewhat looks like this. This is the nucleus present in the cell, which is shifted towards the cell membrane. Why we know? Because in plant cells the vacuoles are bigger in size, right? The vacuoles are quite larger in size. So the nucleus is shifted towards the cell membrane that we have studied last year. Correct? So this is the nucleus. Then the cell walls are thickened. At some places. Correct? So this is how the longitudinal section looks like of parenchyma. And as I have told you, they provide the support to the plant. That is their function. That they bear the leaf, the fruit, the flower, and they provide support to the leaf, flower, and the fruits in the plant. And also provides the mechanical support to the plant. That is the function of parenchyma. I hope you understood these two simple permanent tissues. The third simple permanent tissue we are going to learn in our next session. So I hope you understood the meristematic tissues and its types, then the simple permanent tissues and its types in today's session. In our next session, we are going to learn the third simple permanent tissue and then the complex permanent tissues. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.